impactful, useful, and really work. And people have created these and demonstrated them at this conference. And I'm looking forward to more doing that today. So, head over to Don.
Yeah, my name is Tiagi. My twin over here. Yeah, so like Mike said, it's a fun session divided into 3 parts. First part, we'll just jump right into it, innovate, build some teams around some problems that we want to build games for. And the second one will be mostly the invention, and then the last part is providing a safe environment to actually play these, test them out with each other, and get them ready for the game thing tomorrow. The game tournament tomorrow. And last time we did this, last year, one of our Incubator games actually won most creative, and it was just built the day before. So let's do that again. Any other struggles?
Trying to empower teams to be self-organizing.
Empowering, self-organizing, yeah. Have you guys played any games for that? There are a few out there. Maybe I won't throw them out yet.
I think in that line too, I think is getting people to accept ownership of things, right? You know?
And for the most part, they're like that. When I think about like pair programming, we know it's good, but what is it that they're struggling with? So it was the first thing you said, which was more
The lone wolf type.
Yeah, how do we, they're not working together as a team properly. Maybe they don't have collective ownership of the code, that's the problem. And then this kind of leads us into the next step, which is maybe this is what we want to teach them. Maybe this is one of the things we want to be able to lead with as a main objective of solving this problem, right? So for most parts it's at that level, but I probably would have reworded that of what the problem is.
Like,
but even if you start here.
We had an example, like we had someone working on something for the first couple weeks of the sprint. He took a couple days off, put his stuff into a build, it broke.
Right.
All of a sudden we're trying to figure out what he did.
Nobody else knows,
We had reviewed his code, but we didn't know it well enough.
Right, yeah,
So,
so
it was a
that's
real
the
world
problem. And pair programming is one good solution, and there may be others as well, right, that we would want to know. All right, what do you guys think? You want to, we can pick one of these and go with it. And this is one of the things we found the most when building games is you start down a particular path, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, what if we just did this one other thing? We could also tackle that and that. And then before you know it, you're designing software systems, right?
Fuel economy, direction of what choices you.
Oh, they had the whole list.
So, like, they would have, sedan, sports, and it's going to be this color, and it's going to cost this much, and it's going to get this many miles.
And the acceptance criteria is this.
And that's not a meeting customer, right? So then they have to pull out another one and see and kind of iteratively how close they get. The idea of swapping it across the table is
At grandmother's house,
fun,
the third
kind
one.
of demonstrate, another way to glean more information about what you're trying to accomplish. Without actually having the acceptance criteria richer. Kind of that slog towards the end.
The building part of this.
Very fine.
So to teach, the end goal is that
So in the backlog, we're going to give you a high-level user story type definition. You guys are going to have, we say 3 questions you ask, and yes or no questions about details. So we'll take a look at what you've produced, and you'll have the ability to ask 3 more questions to get more information if there are things you're missing.
So 2 questions and then 3 questions.
3 questions each time.
3, the whole team, just 3.
Yeah, I guess we have more.
Is it for a happy occasion?
Yes.
Happy occasion, no art.
What happy are there any happy occasions that we could come up with?
Birthday is probably the most typical one.
No, we have to ask the third question.
Yeah.
Right?
One more question.
We have to ask the third question
We need a
now.
poem.
No, we can't discuss the question because they're.
Whether it's for a kid
Okay,
or
we're done.
then we can get the anniversary or.
Is it for a child?
Is it for a child or a parent?
No.
Yes, no.
Pick one.
Oh, okay, I see. Is it for a child?
No. Okay, you have to build
So now take your best guess and build a card. See what you think.
right, yeah, there we go.
Oh, we didn't put a heart.
Have a great day.
Okay. I don't think your current card meets any of the requirements that we had met.
Any of them.
Oh, really?
Unless I'm mistaken.
Well, it's a card.
It is a card. You met that requirement. Yes.
All right, answer the next three
So next three questions.
So we are.
Is it Valentine's Day?
Yes.
Hey!
Next question.
More decoration. Well,
art
once
was,
we do one,
art
art
was
is
not there
Let's,
as an acceptance, so we could skip the whole thing and maybe there's something else.
And what's 14?
Does it need an answer?
Something about
No,
You need a poem?
that might be a question. Later.
Yeah, after this we'll find out, right?
I mean, you were close. I think the only thing. So specifically, we're looking for a Valentine's Day card for a wife. More
Oh,
specifically.
for a while.
Picture of one. But close enough.
And
We had confusion with
The final step, right? What are the questions you're going to start the conversation with now, with the teams that just played this game, and cycle back to the objectives? So let's hear that.
Instead of asking what type of holiday it was, they asked what does it fall in the first half or second half of the year. And then they have to again, and they got it down to the first quarter. And then they didn't even ask the question, was it Valentine's Day?
We have to make an assumption because we ran a question, which is right.
Right.
Yeah. And maybe if it's less iterations or something.
Yeah.
Just 3 questions. What would we have asked? Which holiday?
The occasion I think
How
was
big? What color? You know, and that would be.
Way, so even you have your meaning in the game, it's not somebody else's meaning, but doesn't mean it's any less meaningful.
Our game is called Once Upon a Time. And it's taking setup in the problem when do we have the right amount of details for user stories. And we're looking at the product backlog approach for this. We take setup in a product backlog, so the assumption is that everyone here knows what a product backlog is. We are looking at the product backlog as having 3 different levels. There is the high level, which you guys, which in this game will be represented by paper. We have user stories, which will be represented by that. And then we have the actual products, which is these pieces of paper. The idea is that we, through the next, in a real session it will be 16 minutes, but through the next half an hour we will go through the creation of both the high level, the user stories, and also actually creating the products. So, what we are taking setup is in a fairy tale, where we will take setup in the Little Red Riding Hood. And Anil will, for those of you, do all of you know the Little Red Riding Hood?
Yes.
So please write, and everyone should have a pen.
so you have to give the timing, right?
So,
Yep.
so
Oh yeah.
we're rewriting Little Red Riding Hood to 2010? 2012. 2012.
2012.
Are we doing this individually or?
Yeah.
As a group.
As a
You
group.
are working together as a group.
So
define your backlog.
So the idea is to define the backlog, right? So the story outline I gave, the story outline, you define 4 high-level features from that story outline.
So
That's the
for
first
instance,
step.
it could be like introduction, could be
Yeah.
part of the story, or so all those when we put the features together that you have, we should have the complete story.
And then you break, in the next step, you break the features down into user stories. And then based on, and then, so you're 4 of you, so you could either work as a team to break down the high level features into detailed user stories, or you could do it individually. And then, the next step would be to actually go through those user stories and write out the actual story.
And there'll be 2 teams.
Now when you pick it up.
Maybe do them all.
And we have tagged on the 15 seconds.
That's the climax. Oh, no, sorry, wolf attacks riding hood.
You don't have to. You can just let us guess. It's your game.
I'm losing track of the story.
Each one of them described it before we took it. So we sort of had, we got to hear it and see it. So we actually did. And that really helped me.
So like you might, so to make it a better real life experience is that component of actually planning and talking and understanding
Right.
of the flow and what the you know, what's the overall theme, you know, and what is the result that we want to get. Like we knew we wanted a story, but we didn't have that kind of overview and the time to plan.
I think it's very good that you mentioned it, because yesterday when we did some dry runs with a couple of different groups, we tried it with an additional step in between where we actually took some time to groom and plan for the stories, which would take care of like the scope of the story